The raffle ticket is for a gift card to iTunes and also a digital tablet. So if you guys didn't get a raffle ticket, raise your hands and, otherwise, we'll do the drawing toward the end of the event and hopefully you win. I wish I could win. I don't have a tablet. My mistake with my toddler, so he took mine. So I'm going to introduce Jahari White first, ask him to say, a few brief remarks, and then we'll work our way around the table, giving the priority to our young people. Jahari.
Good afternoon. My name is Jahari White. I'm 16 years old and I attend Vernon High School. One of my colleagues is not here, but on behalf of her, I'd like to say thank you for allowing us to speak and to participate in this event.
Thank you, Jahari. And to all the young people that came, we're going to have someone give you a raffle ticket. The raffle tickets were given out to all the young people that came. So this ticket is your ticket to an iTunes gift card or a digital tablet. So hopefully, you get in the drawing and you win. So thank you, Jahari.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, can you hear me? Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me now? All right, my name is AJ Woodson. We have an online news site called blackwestchester.com. News from a side point of view. We cover a lot of issues affecting the community, and we dealt with a lot of the peaceful protests that actually happened before the riots happened, which led to an article I wrote, which has copies up here. A lot of people got asked why the black community is so angry, and I wrote an editorial on that. That was copies of it.
I'd like to say hello to everyone. Basically, I'm glad we are here to discuss some of these matters because we really do have a serious issue here today, dealing with our youth. And, as parents and as elders in the community, we need to address some of these issues. One of the things is, as we know, jobs, that's a big problem. Thank God. Dealing with the police in Mount Vernon is not a major issue as it is in other cities, but at the same time, I have heard quite a few complaints, so that's something that we can't overlook. But at the same time, we have job issues, we have, 60% unveiling with students. We need to work with that with the schools and try to break that up. And a lot of that doesn't just fall on teachers, it falls on us as a community trying to push the youth towards seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, getting better grades and things. And last but not least, just to bring our youth up to more consciousness of the role that they need to play. If they don't know, then basically, they just keep going. So we have to take that responsibility as adults and bring them up to speed on what's happening.
So, now there was a young lady I was supposed to join Jahari for the panel discussion, but hopefully she shows up in time. But nonetheless, we're going to turn to Jahari and ask him just a few questions, and we'll also open up the microphone to the young people in the audience that may have a question or would like to contribute. And you can do so in two ways. You can stand up from where you are, or you can talk at the microphone to my right or your left, or if you feel so compelled to join us at this table. This is a table that is inclusive, that is inviting you, young people that are here today, to join, because this is your opportunity to help craft and shape this discussion and agenda for not just the summer of peace, but a real opportunity to make sure we get engaged and start taking command of our futures. So Jahari, as you look around and you saw the situation bubbling over, be it across in other cities, but having been involved in the discussions the school really displayed an ugly side that we haven't really seen and had no place, particularly in basketball. Can you just provide, your reaction to that episode, that experience of having to engage, some tough issues as a young man coming up in the high school system in Mount Vernon, having to reconcile in front, such ugly remarks from, some of your peers?
Well, personally, I have not experienced as much of these issues directly, but I am aware of the effect that these issues have had on the community itself, and I'll say the Black community especially. I feel as if these issues, like the riots that have happened in Baltimore, I don't feel like they were going about the right way. Protesters should protest peacefully, and that's the only way that they will ever be heard. I don't feel like violence is ever going to change anything. It's not effective in any way. It's just going to damage the city, damage people themselves. It's not going to help the situation. And in the beginning of the year, I think it was, with the Mayorpac situation, and maybe last year, I can't remember. But a select group of students from Vernon High School have traveled to Mayorpac and spoke on behalf of the basketball team. And we conferred with some of the other students from Mayorpac about the situation, and they gave their insight on what happened, and we gave our insight on how we felt about the situation. I felt like it was a very productive meeting. I felt like we addressed a lot of situations that were not addressed publicly, I guess you could say, since the video went viral, but they didn't see the aftermath of the situation, like how we had met with the students from Mayorpac. I feel like we did a very good job and conducted ourselves well, and I think that reflects very well on our learning itself, because we have, in the past, have had a very bad history of, I guess you could say, violence and just bad behavior, and I think that it's plaguing us as a community. That's the only thing that if we're only going to remember the bad things that happen, we can never move forward and progress. And I hope that today we can address some more issues and be a better community.
So, Jahari spoke on the coverage and spoke on how, particularly related to Baltimore, the coverage was not that great, and the coverage following the aftermath of Mayorpac, positively, that did come about as a result of such an ugly display of hatred. So, A.J. Woodson, if you can talk about, from the media perspective, your reaction to, what you just heard, but also, how your article, your coverage of the issues with respect to Baltimore, how come we don't see that so much more media today?
Well, thank you. We wrote an article the Saturday before the violence broke down and the CVS got burned down. There were 10,000 peaceful protesters. The media didn't show that. And we had friends down there who were there. They took pictures of the peaceful protest. I think 35 people got arrested, maybe 100, 150 people acted up. But all you heard from the New York Times, from all the major media, was how those 35 got arrested and those few hundred. And what I was explaining, you had 10,000 peaceful protesters. If them 10,000 protesters were to act up, it would have been a whole lot worse. And by only creating that kind of narrative, it's almost like they lit their match for what happened next. You know what I'm saying? Because they didn't give credit for any of those people that were equally angry but peacefully protested, and they resisted the urge. All they still got wrote about was as if they were just protesting. I mean, they were rioting. They were called rioters. You know what I'm saying? So we wrote an article about that. We kind of attacked the media. Me and the media, when we attacked the media, we were well received by everybody. Because they were like, oh, this is what the media won't show you. No one else told the story but us. So I think that's why we started Black Westchester. We need to change the narrative of how we are portrayed in the media. See, the media is never going to portray us positively that's not what they're there for. You know what I'm saying? That's not how they make money. You know, but we have to get involved in the media. We have to change the narrative. We have to create the narrative. We have to tell the other side to the story. You know, there's a lot more to us than, you know, saggy jeans. Every young man that's walking around with saggy jeans, every one of you are not, you know what I'm saying, you know, what they portray y'all to be. You know, but they don't show that side of you. You know, so that's what I feel as far as the media perception.
So, with respect to solutions, I know Mr. Bridges facilitates a discussion in the schools with young people, and you know, Jahari, I'm going to put the same question to you. So while we know that, you know, the media, there are elements of the media that does provide positive coverage, there are elements of the media that does not. So setting the media aside, what is the solution to create a scenario, Mr. Bridges, where we don't have, you know, be it riots, or we don't have this this treatment bubble, this, you know, let's just say negative or, you know, bad treatment bubble over into, you know, a cycle of, you know, destroying families, a cycle of violence. You know, what's the solution to kind of break that cycle?
Well, I think there's more than one way that we have to approach this. But one way for sure is that the community as a whole needs to look at really taking a serious look at ourselves and saying, where are we lacking? Where are the real issues that we really need to focus on? And then from that point, once you, for example, if there's a person that's sick, you know, you can't tell them to go to the doctor, and then when you get to the doctor, you lie and don't tell them the right thing. If your knee is hurting, you can't tell them it's your elbow. You have to really look at the knee and say, okay, I really need to have this addressed and taken care of. And then it can be taken care of and it can be fixed. And I think what we have to do is come together on one accord, and with the youth as well as with adults. And the thing is that last year we had 30% of our people voting. 30%. Out of 100% of the voting population here in Mount Vernon, only 30% voted. And I think that says a lot in regards to how people, what kind of mindset people are in right now. A lot of people have just like said, you know what, I'm just going to like sit on the sidelines with this, and I'm not really going to get involved. And when we do that as adults, the youth see that example and they do the same thing. And that's why, because this room right now should be overflowing with youth right now, you know, but it's not. And that means that they've taken on that same energy of not getting involved in issues that affect them. This is a platform for them where they can come up and speak and talk their mind and speak on what issues really they feel need to be addressed in Mount Vernon. And you have a handful here, which tells me that we need to do more as adults, getting them involved and speaking on issues and seeing how important it is for them to be here and speak on certain issues that are affecting them. And if they don't feel that is important, then who can we say is the ones that should really be focusing on that? We as adults need to be. Because as we were having a conversation earlier, if we, as certain one of us as youth coming up, if there wasn't certain adults in our lives, whether it was a gym teacher, whether it was a school teacher, whether it was a brother at our church, whether it was somebody that said, yo, but come here, let me pull you to the side. What you're doing is not right. You know, I heard you over there fighting over there and everything. Let me pull you to the side and tell you what you really need to be doing. And, I mean, I've even heard Denzel say there was a certain teacher that pulled him to the side, and even our brother over at the Boys Club at one point, right? You know, so there's a number of people that pull you to the side and tell you that, but we have thousands of youth that aren't being pulled to the side right now. So we as adults really need to start to look at that and sit down and talk to them about really coming on board and getting involved with the issues at hand.
I agree. We were talking about that, and what exactly I said too. I said if it wasn't for a lot of older people, when I was your age, that got at me, I'd be dead in jail right now. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of people that told me I was doing the wrong thing, or I was hanging with the wrong crowd. So what I say to the adults, when I say to all adults that feel like you, the youth, are out of control, if it's you that are out of control, it's not you that are failing us, it's us that have failed you. Because y'all can't teach yourselves. Somebody had to show me the better way. That means all my generation needs to do a better job to show y'all a better way. And I have this conversation with adults all the time. That's what I'm saying.
So, one of the things, so Jar, you heard two public leaders, community leaders talk about getting young people involved. When you see, you take inventory of Mount Vernon. Now, the high school has, an array of amenities. It has a big field that has basketball courts. I know the pool's going to be fixed in time, but you have a lot of things that you can do. When you leave the high school, you leave school, and you come into Mount Vernon, you're greeted by a closed memorial field. You're greeted by, parks that don't have all of the amenities that you're looking for, or a recreation center that is not completely welcoming. Can you just comment on what do young people look for to do between those hours when you get out of school and there's not much to do?
Well, this is definitely something that I want to touch upon, actually, because this is a situation that I had brought up to Mr. Gonzalez, who was the principal of Mount Vernon High School. And it's something that personally is important to me because I've been an avid swimmer for 8 years. I was on a swimming team at New Rochelle High School, New Rochelle YMCA. I swam USA Sanction. And the swimming pool at Mount Vernon High School was down for countless amount of years. And supposedly next year they're going to be fixing it. I feel like it shouldn't have taken 7, 8 years for a pool to be fixed. I feel like there's a lot of different times when money could have been allocated towards fixing certain facilities that we have here in Mount Vernon. And the swimming pool is just one of them. Memorial Field definitely has been closed for way too long. It's a very important to the city. It's an iconic monument to Mount Vernon. It's something that we've always been known for. And it's a lot of benefits that come with fixing it, and I feel like it's very important. It's another outlet for our youth to go to. It's the Boys and Girls Club that's on 10th Avenue where I used to live that has been closed for maybe 15 years. I feel like that needs to be bought by the city somehow or something and renovated and turned back into a Boys and Girls Club or something else, some other recreational facility for our youth to go to. That's one of the reasons why maybe there's a lot of loitering around in, say, Hartley Park or around McDonald's on Remington Avenue. And the police department, they get on the students about loitering there, but there's not really many other places to go. People don't like to stay in the house all the time. They like to be somewhere where they can have fun and enjoy themselves and be positive and keep themselves occupied. But the law enforcement has to do their job. They're supposed to keep people off the streets, but there's no other place for people to go. And I feel like it's been advocated for to a certain extent, but I feel like people are taking it as seriously as it should. It shouldn't take 8 years for Memorial Field to be fixed. It should have gotten fixed the next year. There's money somewhere, and we need to find it, and we need to do something about it now.
Well said. So, one of the things I guess I want to ask, and I'll put this to the entire panel. In the month of June, Mount Vernon is going to kick off the Summer Breeze concert. There's an opportunity for the community to be engaged, as Vernon pointed out. Mount Vernon is also on the way planning the Arts on Third event, which is a major annual event, which should be extended. I mean, it should happen, year-round if possible. If we can't do it in the winter time because it's too cold out somewhere, we should find a way to do it at the Boys and Girls Club. I'm volunteering your space, Mr. Moore. We should find a way to do, more arts like how The Wiz was produced at the high school, and find a way to make sure that on an annual basis, every season, we have an Arts on Third kind of activity. This way the whole community can come together every 3 or 4 months. And so I guess the question is, as these events are approaching, what if any opportunities do you see for young people to get engaged and get involved, to help plan or to set an opportunity to feature some of your talents if it's going to be music, arts, or if it's going to be athletics, and I'm going to start with Jahari first, unless you want to pitch it to one of these guys. Okay, so, if you can provide some feedback on your perspective of would young people want to get engaged and get involved in demonstrating their talent?
I definitely believe that a lot of young people would like to get involved with displaying their talents and skills and things like that. I participated in the talent show that we had last year at the high school, and it was very important to me. I'm a dancer, I love dancing, and it's the way I express myself, and also through fashion. It was a fashion show at the high school during the same time, and I feel like it was a really good outlet for a lot of people to express themselves, and a lot of people stepped out of their comfort zone, and people who are kind of introverts, they became extroverts just because of this one simple occasion. And I feel like this is just a small part of, like, one of the reasons why we're held back is because a lot of our youth are not exposed to other things, and we don't have programs where we can travel. I was part of an ambassador program at my elementary school where I was able to travel to Kenya, Ecuador, Thailand, and South Africa. And that was a very enlightening experience for me, especially as I traveled to Kenya at 10 years old. And it was a really great experience for me. I learned a lot, and even being so young, it broadened my view about a lot of things on life. And I feel like if these type of programs were open to more people, especially the youth, here in Mount Vernon, that would be great. And also, even performing arts schools here. We don't always have to be in the city. I mean, there's a lot of talent within us. You don't have to travel to the city just to go to a performing arts school or use a theater there. This could be income for the city. That's more taxes. Well, I don't know. Besides that, but
it's all right. I mean, listen, you're providing good ideas, and you see, I'm furiously taking notes. I'm trying to keep up with you, gentlemen. Thoughts on engagement. The upcoming calendar includes, Arts on Third, which is a great annual event. Curiously happens around silly season known as election season, but nonetheless, I think that Mount Vernon has a major opportunity to do it year round, and if we structure it right, we would be able to fund it properly so we can have this level of engagement. In your experience, do you think there's a role from a media standpoint to covering it, or just if you can just add some thoughts to the types of engagement that could occur if we were to create a real robust program?
Actually, I'm going to answer your question, but not the way you asked me to answer it. There are a lot of youth here, and they came here, and we're talking about what they should have. We should be asking them, what do you want? If you can have something, this is your chance to speak at the city council. You know what I'm saying? What kind of things do you want to see in this city? You know what I'm saying? Y'all are here, so I like to hear, rather than me saying some ideas that would be good for y'all, I want to hear what y'all want. Would anybody like to speak up?
Come on up.
Fixing the baskets at
We can start opening more programs at the high school because it's over like 1,000 kids at the high school. They had cooking programs, all these other programs, and they all stopped. And that was something else to do at the high. Everybody needs school. Go to the streets, do all these crazy stuff.
All right.
Music classes.
More music classes? Okay. I know some of y'all got some ideas. Come on, man. This is your
What
chance.
about video games? I mean, come on, guys. I see somebody moving now.
I know New York is state of the old United States is a state of like basketball. Everybody loves basketball. Well, I'm not even a fan, so yeah, it's different. I'm a different man. I like it as a sport. The word NBA is all over in the United States, but one word is not recognized in the United States, the FIFA. Nobody realizes that sport, and Mount Vernon, like when you go to other park, like Arley, any other park, you go there free, you go inside, you see basketball hoops, you see benches, you see swings where you play, but there's one thing missing. They don't have a soccer field. Mount Vernon has a lot of Mexicans and no fiat. South City, I know, and you got to pay the you got to pay $200. Now I'm not paying $200 a month to go inside and don't play on soccer. So
That's what's up, that's what's up. Anybody else have any?
Another, I think, activity that's very prevalent. Another activity that's very prevalent here in Mount Vernon is skating. I think that to combat some of the issues that the police are having, and also the administrators in school are having with people riding their skateboards, is to like build a skate park for people. There's a lot of people who are looking for that, and that will be a great outlet for them. That will keep them off the streets or out of the schools directly skating, because that seems to be a problem. And also, I would say, you said video games. I'm not a fan of video games myself, but I have a lot of friends that are. I have a lot of friends that are, so you can have video game expos and stuff where you have all the video game stations and have it open to the public to try out and test the games and stuff, and then create competitions, things like that.
Okay, I really have to bring it back home to, in a minute, I really have to bring it back home to somewhat the same conversation of community. I was just watching on television, there was a situation where the mayor of New York City cut back some money on summer programs in Mount Vernon. New York City. So what ended up happening was there were a lot of kids that were not going to have anything happening for the summer. You know, they already had a summer program that was laid out for them and everything, and the total thing was canceled. So what ended up happening was the community got together, the parents got together, and they protested in front of City Hall for the last 2 or 3 days, and it forced the mayor to say, yo, I guess I'm going to have to rewrite this, and I'm going to give the money back to that program and allow that program to actually have, their summer program with the youth. Now, that caused community involvement to come through in order for those programs to come back and be enacted again. But if it wasn't for the community coming back and speaking up to the mayor and saying, yo, we're not going to allow you to do this. Our kids are just going to be hanging out on street corners with their drug dealers, with there's violence going on, and they're not going to be in safe places for the whole summer. This is not good. We want this to be enacted again. We want to reinforce this by putting money back into it. And he did. But the only way he did it was that the community came and forced him to put pressure on him to do that. The same thing can happen here. There's a lot of programs that need to be enacted here in Mount Vernon for the youth during the summertime, after school programs, the whole 9 yards. But as some of y'all already spoke about, who's saying what? No, if you don't say nothing, then nothing will be done. If you don't put pressure on the political leaders here in Mount Vernon, nothing will be done. So the ball falls back into our lap. If we really want to see this happen, we can't say, well, it's going to happen one day, it's going to work itself out. No, it won't happen like that. We have to step up to the plate and say, we want X, Y, Z. Some of the things you said already, you guys, some good ideas, but guess what? We have to put some energy behind it to make it happen.
So just to build on that, we do have some programs that do great things, as Benjamin was talking about, and like Future Society. And every year they open up and just set up shop in the park and they engage kids. I mean, it's an old school, homegrown fun. And one of the things I will say is that pipeline to prison. Mount Vernon does have an unfortunate statistic attached to the city where we have among the highest rates of violence, both violent and non-violent, and crime. So both violent and non-violent crime, and these are things that we really need to address. So breaking that pipeline to prison does, particularly for our young people, require a robust approach that includes programs and funding. And I know the Boys and Girls Club typically receives funding from the city, but when you hear about the delays and the confusion and all the the questions that linger as a result of not just them but other organizations that cannot get access to these funds, it becomes a question of what are our priorities. So we know that Memorial Field is shut. We know that, you know, the baskets in Hartley Park need to be fixed. The same thing with Wall Street Park. The YMCA was acquired by the city just about 4 years ago, and that too remains a mystery. But look, the list is long, and what I want to do is come back to the audience one more time, because I want to kind of wrap this up and go down the list of the items that I heard today, and try and provide some feedback, or at least get an assessment from you, if this is what you believe we should be working on, and also I want to get to the main part of the event, the raffle drawing, so you guys can get, you know, some of the goods that you may have come seeking. So, you know, AJ, you know, did a great job asking the audience. You know, anybody out there, do you guys want to add any other items that you think we missed, or something we're talking? We had a gentleman had a question right here.
I just say, I agree with Brother Jahari about the skate park idea. I think that's a beautiful idea, because I've seen over the course a couple of years now, there's been a lot more skaters, you know, just all over the city. Sometimes it becomes problematic, especially in certain areas where their life could actually be in danger because this car is driving by and you're going, you know, shooting down the road doing like 35, opposite way of traffic. That's really dangerous. Also with the young man, Yachty, yeah, he said a park where you can have soccer. That's absolutely amazing. I think that's cool. But I would add to that, that wasn't mentioned, some form of entertainment. Looking at my city where my college is located, Monroe College, they have New Rock City. And in New Rock City, you have a collage of different things, and it's all based upon entertainment. Entertainment brings so much revenues into the city, which I feel as though if we had a situation that's set up somewhere, because there's pretty much fields and other areas or buildings that probably could be renovated or just built up from the ground up, where you can set up, you know, a place where there's arcade systems, where there's a movie theater perhaps, where there's a skating rink, then you have ice skating rink, bowling alleys. Those type of things will generate revenues that would put a pretty much less of a grip or a burden on the taxpayers. And then on top of that, it gives the children that are here an outlet versus just being in the streets, riding around, riding skateboards, or doing things that are mischievous because they have nothing else to do. So I just want to add that to that.
One of the things we were talking about, we also have a radio show, People Before Politics, and one of the saddest things, and I'm going to stay on this, Mount Vernon has no place to spend your entertainment dollars. Like if you want to go to the movies, I got to go to New Rochelle, or I got to go to Yonkers, I got to go to the Bronx. Dave and Buster opened up right on the borderline of Pelham Manor to get the Mount Vernon dollars, but not to have to deal with being in Mount Vernon. Yep. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's no, so for people who have money to spend, they can't even spend it in Mount Vernon, and that's the issue. So, you know what I'm saying? We have to bring more things, like you said, for us to spend our entertainment dollars. You can't, older people can't go bowling or roller skating. We used to, when I was dating myself, we used to have a roller skate rink here. It used to be a place to be every Friday, Saturday night. It had a DJ. It was popping. You understand what I'm saying? We had things to do, but y'all don't have these things. You understand what I'm saying? It's a shame when I hear the school board president, the superintendent talking about the budget. He says he wants to create things that I had. Y'all don't even have a nurse for each school. Like we had that. You know what I'm saying? You have a nurse that comes to one school on Tuesday and another school on Thursday. They shouldn't be talking about creating business. We had this stuff. Y'all don't have guidance counselors and stuff that we had. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's a shame to hear him talk about having to create things that we should have never lost. Because I went to Mount Vernon High School. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why we do what we do with people for politics, collect questions, to ask those questions, to keep, you know what I'm saying, to keep it out there. So I want you, and we're recording this, and this will be on the site later on, you know, the next couple of days. And we're going to stay on the city council and the mayor to help create these things. So I want to hear from you. I want to continue to hear from you. That's, you know, because we can't make decisions about you without you being involved. And that's why I keep asking y'all what y'all want.
So I saw another hand flicker up, and I'm going to ask this young lady to come sit down right here to our left. And so, Larry, can we have an extra 10 to 15 minutes?
Yeah, long time to work.
make sure it's all right with you, that's all, because I know that, you know, we all the time, we want to keep everything on schedule. So, all right, thank you. So we were joined by our second panelist. Now, I'm going to ask you just to briefly introduce yourself, and you slide that down, you can slide down this, we're going to share this mic. And I'm happy that y'all made it, because it's good to have some voices of some young sisters to talk about, young ladies talk about the priorities that you see, and the priorities you think are needed or missing from this city, this great city of Mount Vernon. Before you came, I'm glad you got your route ticket as well, because you got some good rides. But we discussed an array of issues that are confronting the city, like broken basketball courts at Hartley Park and 4th Street Park. We talked about Memorial Field being shut. We heard about that there's very little things to do after school, and the programs that I mentioned that are coming up include Summer Breeze. You have Arts on the 3rd that occurs, which is one time a year. But we want to know, if we were to expand these services, do Arts on the 3rd year round like it probably should be. If you can comment on some of the ideas that you think the city should listen to and consider to do to make your experience post 2:30 or 3 o'clock in at school better. I'd like to hear your ideas and thoughts on how to get engaged and make a more robust offering for our young people in the city.
Well,
first your name.
my name is Alicia Cameron, and I attend Mount Vernon High School. And one thing that I've noticed, and it kind of bothers me a lot, is the fact that Memorial Field is closed. Now, I remember when I was young, me and my aunt used to go walking there all the time, especially for her wedding. And I remember they used to have all sorts of cultural things, meat markets, and they sell jewelry. It's a place where all this culture is in one setting, and I really like that. What I think that Mount Vernon should gear to is colliding cultures together. I think that's the way how people can get to know each other. And plus, Mount Vernon is a small community, so I think we have all sorts of diversity. We have all sorts of kind of people here. So I think to keep the diversity alive and get to know each other, I think that that's something that we should work on.
Hi, my name is Victoria Bradford. I go to Mount Vernon High School as well. I actually started a venture over the summer, and I wanted to open a rollerblade ring in Mount Vernon, so I started a petition, and I got a little bit over 800 signatures. But the problem with that is that I know there's not a lot of funding for stuff like that. And I know they said things should be geared towards educational stuff, but there are. I feel like we just need somewhere after school where people can meet up and have fun, just buy food or just hang out with your friends. And I know a lot of people say we're bad, that's why we can't have anything, but I don't know, I still think we need something just fun. Just for us to just listen to music and have fun.
Now we know, so that's one of the things that we talked about briefly, about how the perception is that you guys are bad, and we know the truth is there are a very small select group that gives the broader bunch of bad image. So I do want to say thank you and acknowledge your hard work for collecting signatures to try and create a new venture for rollerblade rink here in Mount Vernon. That's tremendous. And the answer is there are opportunities to find funding, particularly from the city. And in the coming weeks, I forget the date offhand, the city's going to have a hearing, very much like this one, at the library. And it's going to be about the city's consolidated 5-year plan. Now, this one's going to focus on housing needs, which are very important. But if you were to attend that hearing and say, where's the hearing on making sure that we have a rollerblade rink? Where's the hearing to make sure that our youth programs are funded? Where's the meeting to discuss like this one, breaking that pipeline in prison? You will see that that engagement, getting involved, policymakers, including myself, will become more involved and more understanding of some of the needs that you set out. Now, you mentioned that colliding cultures. So what's your plan this summer in terms of making sure that you have stuff to do? I mean, you mentioned that Mount Vernon has some challenges in terms of having places to go and meet up. So what kind of choices do you anticipate making this summer? What are your plans for the summer in absence of all these nice benefits to have?
I actually wanted to come down to City Hall and speak with someone because like I have all these communities, but I'm not really sure what I could do with them. And I know like think about Memorial Field, like it's been over 5 years and nothing's happened. So like working with people in the city is difficult. It doesn't seem like anything ever gets done. It gets started and it's never finished.
I just want to speak to that. I'm very, very proud of you all. I want to start with saying that. And then also I want to offer something Benjamin keeps saying about community. Part of it is that some of our young people aren't aware of who we all are as community leaders. And I'm Nestor Felix. They call me Coach Felix. Most of you may have heard that name. It's along the way. But what happens is a lot of your community leaders here are involved in something, and they have some resources, whether it's just intellectual or connections or something. And everything does not have to happen within the town. To be this young and to actually have an idea already and to be able to move things that way, that's amazing. You don't have to always rely on your town to get you things if you really want something badly. Recently, we did a Good Morning America appearance, and it was not necessarily something that happened in the town. It was something because we networked outside of the town. And sometimes there are a lot of fundings, and someone who wants to hear your voice or to hear your cry, they would want to know where you are and how can they help you. And so I want you all to understand that as young people, to be able to express that need. It doesn't have to be the fight here. You may go to City Hall and it's not maybe that they don't want to help, maybe they do feel that they can, but then you go and find a way to get it done and start to connect. So I'm a community leader, and like I said, whether it's Ms. Moore, Ms. Crump, the councilman, and other, connect with them on a personal level and say, do you know any way you can direct me? There are amazing things happening, even with the skating court. I've been actually looking into some of those things from the outside. We're starting to have a conversation with Good Morning America about doing something else in Mount Vernon, because they did a project and they were amazed at it. They were actually excited. They don't know Mount Vernon as what people portray Mount Vernon. They only know the good things that we've started to share with them about Mount Vernon. So there are people that want to help. And so again, don't allow some of the little negative things that you hear to think that, to hold you down, but understand there are other avenues. And if you cannot get it done one way, find another way to get it. Because again, what you all are doing at your age, it's amazing. And you all are starting to start a fight. I was even thinking when I heard you express about Baltimore, you know, it was young people. They were angry. They didn't know how best to express their anger, but they were young people on the forefront of those issues. So continue to push and find the avenues. There are a lot of community leaders here who are waiting to hear your voice and to help you direct that passion. All right, so thank you.
Thank you, Coach Felix. Can you direct me? I want some direction. I thought I was demented. Nah, look, I believe in fighting for Mount Vernon. I remember talking to somebody that said, even the volunteer Mount Vernon, we have to fight to volunteer sometimes. So you really have to really take inventory of have a gut check. And when I check my gut, and yes, I passed the test, I'm all about Mount Vernon, and I'm going to fight for Mount Vernon. And this is part of the reason why we're holding this discussion, to make sure that you, all you young people are out here today and want to say next, and you know that those signatures were not collected in vain. You know, the voice that I'm bringing based on what you're telling me, or the voice I intend to bring to the next council meeting and going forward into budget discussions, is how do we find funding for these 800 signatures that want a safe place to recreate. You know, I can point to, and again, it's easy to criticize. Mount Vernon does make it very easy to criticize when you have leadership that doesn't complete projects. But, you know, we have facilities that could have been completed, that could have offered you something to do. So I think making this connection today, bringing this message back to your friends and family, that there are community leaders here that are going to listen and learn from you and find ways to lead for you. So that includes, you know, Coach Felix, who's going to give me some direction on how we can make things work in Mount Vernon. But in all seriousness, we do have outlets, and I do appreciate the work and the observations you made. And, you know, we're approaching 4:45 right now. We started this a few minutes late, but I want to keep everybody on time and on task. I'll say I'll open the floor up to the final comments, and then we'll wrap this up. And if there's any chicken left over, we ask that you please eat the chicken. I don't think anything chicken with that smile. That but I'll open the floor for one more set of comments and I'll close it out.
I also want to congratulate the youth that are here and the young adults for stepping up. You know, nothing gets changed. Like, see, we up here, we're doing what we're doing, but for real change, it's going to take y'all. If you watch movies like Selma, it was those young people who became folks that made the change. It's going to take your generation to make change. And one of those things is anybody who is 18 or near 18 needs to know about this, needs to fill out a voter registration card, and you need to learn about the power of your vote. That's another way that you can change things. Sometimes city officials don't take you serious because you don't vote, because you don't come and complain about certain things. You know what I'm saying? So you have to make them care. You have to make them care. And you want to channel that energy positively. You voting. Those of you on here need to tell all your friends who weren't here. So that the next time there's something, we need to see this, the place needs to be filled by youth. Because this is the thing about youth. And this is about hearing your voice. And not enough of y'all are here. So y'all that are here, y'all need to give yourself a round of applause. And y'all need to go out
And lastly, I just want to say I'm very proud of the youth that did show up, you know, because today it seems like, you know, chilling out and relaxing on the sidelines is the way to go, but it's really not, because if you do sit on the sideline,
allow me to participate in this event. And I just want to say I hope that these types of events are going to be publicized more, so that way more people can come out, and I personally will tell my peers about it, because I feel like if people don't know, then nothing is ever going to change. And I feel like a lot of us, especially as African Americans, are very ignorant to a lot of things. Not saying that I'm bashing my culture, because I love my heritage, definitely. But I feel like we're ignorant to a lot of things, and it's something that holds us back. And I feel like we need to take initiative upon ourselves to seek betterment, and we can achieve just as much as anybody else. So I want to see the changes here, and not just, I don't want to speak about it, but I want to see it happen and turn into fruition.
A lot of truth said. A lot of truth said.
Even though I think you're very late, I hope
You still made it.
I hope that the things that are discussed will be taken into consideration, because again, Vernon is small, but we have a lot of children, a lot of kids here, and we just want to try our best just to keep people out of trouble and just have a happy community, because that's what's important at the end of the day.
Sorry. Words.
I just want to say one more thing. The site is our site, blackwestchester.com. We will broadcast this on our site. And since I have a lot of youth in here, I'm looking for a young adult, a young male or female who's a writer, who wants to cover things in Mount Vernon from a youth perspective. We need that. So if y'all, I want to give anybody who wants to contribute a voice.
What's the age you're looking for? What's the age?
That's a good high school, maybe. I think just or above.
College students?
College, yeah, anything like that. But somebody to cover from the youth perspective, because they need to be heard. So,
You know, I know.
Check your phone. Look at your phone.
Look at your phone. I know that there, you know, one of the things that we want to point out though, now, Mount Vernon does have a lot of community leaders, and I know Damon Jones is here. He's been a voice to help talk about, you know, a lot of issues that our community faces. And he raised some issues with respect to Mount Vernon and having a process that's fair and clear and also somewhat private, so that if there is an issue with law enforcement, you don't have to go and lodge your concerns at the police department. If you have a concern with law enforcement, you can lodge it in City Hall, in the clerk's office. And that's something that's also not as publicized and well known. So just understand that you know, there is a process for accountability. There's one for public officials such as myself. There's one, well, not for all public officials. Stop it. Inside joke. But I do want to say that there is a process. If you do have a run-in where you feel that your rights were violated, there's a process to kick off that you can pursue by starting in the clerk's office by following, you know, your concerns there. So I just want to make sure you understand you don't have to just go to the court, you know, just go to the police department. You can come right here to City Hall in the clerk's office.
And if for some reason you don't get anything done, you've gone, because I understand we wrote an article in this about a lot of y'all feeling frustrated, things don't get done. If you've gone to the police, if you've gone to City Hall, and you still haven't found, and you have a police issue, that brother right there, standing right there, David Jones, is the head, put your hand up so people know. He's the head of Blacks and Law Enforcement of America, and if you have an issue with the police, and they need to be dealt with, you see that man right there, and tell him your story. And,
we'll take care of it.
And yeah, so you have, the point to that is, if the system is not working, just don't give up. There's other people that can help you,
So I know that there were some people that wanted to make some comments. Do you want to make the comments, or do you want to wait until we break and then we can talk offline? Is that all right?
No, this is just going to be quick.
Come to the mic.
No. I just want to commend the panel and the youth for being here. It all starts with the first step.
Right.
This is the first step. Try to keep it going. Sometimes we don't know what you want until you let us know what you want. And then if we come together, we can find a way to make that happen. Experience, youth, ideas. You need to participate. You need to find your voice and let it be heard. Speak loud and clear.
Yeah, the two brothers. Thank you. 2 brothers.
Really fast. I took a lot of notes, but it's pretty simple. I did a lot of praying and just seeking about a lot of the same topics that we brought up. And honestly, dealing with a little bit of everything that we talked about, we really got to start getting to the youth on a level of just man to man. Because me being a product of a fatherless home, you know, I was raised with my grandmother who is now deceased. You know, we have to be accountable as young men, because not only if we get to the youth, we can save our future, but in particular, if we can get to the young men and really take them up and love on them, you know what I mean? Without any perversion or, you know, outside of what needs to be done, we can definitely make a difference, because the young men are the wave of the future. At the end of the day, women are the seed bearers, but without the men, there's no child. You understand? So,
we definitely hear you, brother.
If we do that,
we want to keep it quick, because I know we're running down
at
time.
cool. And also, with the topic about schooling, a lot of times what I've noticed with elected officials, when they pass budgets and things, they don't necessarily look too far into school budget. The school budget is always penny pinch, but when anything in regards to affecting their pockets directly or indirectly, they always go to the top dollar. You know what I mean? Let's start really investing in what we need to invest in, and that's the youth. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I just want to say, you guys did a good job out there. But we said that we don't have anything on our run because a lot of the children out here is a problem. I think that's why we're not here, because we don't reach out to the youth. I know we have programs out there like the SNUG program. We got the SNUG program that we grab the older G's of back in the day to try to save the youth. I think we need to, in the peacekeeping program, I think instead of having the adults, I think we have to grab these youth too. Don't wait till the young gangsters get older to try to help them, especially now. You see them on the corner, bring them into the programs now, catch them young, because peers don't listen to the adults, they listen to each other. So I just think that's what I feel.
So your name?
Tyrone Cole.
Tyrone brought up a great point. SNUG and Peacekeepers are, great programs that really don't receive the funding and the attention that they deserve. And I do want to say that SNUG is, very effective in terms of, going to targeted troubled areas. But when it comes to funding our youth, and you're right, DARE, the DARE program is I dare you to fund it. When you look around and ask what happened to PAL and the Key Club on Friday nights, I dare you again to look for it as well. So these are things that the city can step in and fund, but as you pointed out, all these young people here, you mentioned you need someplace fun to go, I invite you to come back again. I'm going to develop a short, memo on this to my colleagues about the priorities that we should be considering to make sure that we fund, particularly in the next budget cycle. But if we can fund it now, we should make an allocation. I do want you to come back to the next council meeting and just say, hey, we discussed this. We hope that, colleagues in City Hall hear this as well, and we want to make sure we're serious. So young people out there, if you want to see, $70,000 invested into, the Dole Center to create a video game room or recreation room or something, or a soccer field or something to that effect. Yeah, I got your attention on that one. So if you want to see how millions of dollars that were wasted at Memorial Field and put toward a much better end, come back. And I'm going to, stick around a few minutes after this to make sure that we can talk. But I do want to say today is John F. Kennedy's birthday. And he was a president that made a big difference. And I believe, like many of you, one person can make a difference. You just got to find your voice and share it with us all. So thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. God bless.